Hello and welcome everybody. This is Tommy Gilmore with Noisy Bird Digital Marketing and you're watching another episode of Spotlight Southern Utah. If this is your first time watching, I talk to a different business owner every week here in Southern Utah about business ownership, and how they got started. I'm really excited because today we're here with somebody that he actually gave me a shot when I first started about 3 years ago. So this is Mike from World Class Pond. Mike, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, awesome. Super excited to have you in the store. And like I said, it's been I think about 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years ago we worked together and did some photos and videos. So awesome to have you back.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was like, I don't know how I haven't talked to Mike yet. I've been wanting to stop in and just see how you've been, and this is a good excuse to come and chat for a minute.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I've watched a lot of your podcasts, and I thought, one of these days he's going to make it back here.
Yep, and I did. I made my way back.
This is Wes.
Yep,
and he's dying to say hi.
We got the dog here today, so you guys might see the dog jump in and out, but we're a big fan of dogs. We're a pro dog podcast. It's pretty controversial, but we'll stick behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to roll with that.
Well, Mike, I'm excited. Tell people a little bit about how you got started at World Class Pond, how long you guys have been in business, and how you got into the sort of pawn and jewelry business in general.
Yeah, so the short version is it was kind of started by family. I came into it, the store was probably only open 6 months. It was less than a year. Frankly, nobody really knew what they were doing. And then I came into it, came home from serving mission, went right to work. Within about 3 years, I had ended up purchasing the business. So that was 1998. So we started out in a little house on 200 North. I think it's an accounting firm or something now. Okay. We moved around a couple of times till we landed here, which used to be the old Yamaha shop. And we still get people that come by and looking for motorcycles. I don't know why. But, so yeah, we've been in business for 26 years. In business, and we've been here for a minute.
That's impressive. And you've been the owner then, it sounds like 23, 22, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so officially I think it was 2001 that I took ownership of it.
So, I mean, long time in the business, and I'm sure that you guys have seen a lot of things. Like, what sorts of challenges have you guys had to overcome in the 24 years, and what did you have to do to overcome those things?
Yeah, it's been a long road, and so I don't remember. Do you remember the days when you had the dial-up internet?
Oh yeah.
You know, made the funny noises. You couldn't be on the phone.
You pick up the phone, it goes.
Yeah. So we started when internet was dial-up, and so in order to value items that were brought to us, we used blue books, Orion blue books. You actually thumbed through a book, and you found the make and model number, and it would kind of give you an idea based on price. Well, nowadays, obviously, the internet's everything. So we use eBay, we use Google, Amazon to kind of get values on things. So that's one that we've seen a lot of change in, is how to value items using the internet. That's one that's been a pretty fun transition. It definitely makes our job a lot easier than
I'm sure.
than thumbing through old blue books.
So I mean, I'm not the right generation, I guess. I didn't, because I know Kelly Blue Book for car values. I didn't realize there was it makes sense now. I didn't realize there was ever an actual blue book that contained items that you priced and things like that.
Yep, and they were blue.
Okay.
They were hardback, Orion. I mean, we had a stack of them probably 2 feet tall. You had electronics, you had tools, all sorts of different books. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd imagine, so you've overcome the internet, modernizing, things like that. I'd imagine it's also hard. People, frankly, have a negative perception of pawn shops sometimes, right?
Yeah, everybody's watched the old, movies where the police go into a pawn shop, they're looking for stolen goods. It's a dark, dirty, smoky place, whatever, that kind of thing. And so that's the perception that pawn shops have had, and we're doing our best to break that mold. If you've ever been to our shop, you know that we've got an updated building. It looks nice. You come in, it's clean, it's organized. We try to really crush it on customer service. Google reviews are super important to us. So right now we have over 600 Google reviews.
Wow.
And I think it's a 4.9. You can't have 5 stars because that's not believable.
No.
You've got to have a few here and there. But so we work really hard to break that mold and make it really welcoming and inviting. And we get customers that come in all the time, almost every day. They've never been in a pawn shop, and it's different than the perception that they had, and they come back.
Yeah, and I think that's when I came. I was the same way. I grew up in Southern California, so I had a very negative perception of pawn shops. Right, it was like where you go to sell stolen stuff to get drugs, and obviously there's, I'm sure, some of that, but I know that you guys have some processes in your business that kind of prevent that because you've been in business so long, because you value community. We can talk about Best of Southern Utah in a minute, but because of all those things, I know that it's important for you guys to vet those things. So talk a little bit about what you've learned and your experience with those things.
Yeah, so in the 26 years that we've been doing, that's another thing that's changed quite a bit. And that is, we work very closely with local law enforcement. Every day we upload a file to a database which shows all the transactions that we've done. Now, everything that we've purchased from customers. And so if an item is stolen and it does end up on that database, it's easy for the police to track it and track it down, and then we can work through the process of getting it back to the victim, running it through the court system, getting it adjudicated. And so that's, again, something that we do every day. That being said, the systems and processes that we have in our store, we try to really vet our customers quite a bit, because obviously we don't want to be dealing in stolen merchandise because it's a bad look, number one, but we're going to lose money, all the things. And so we try to ask questions. We want to see, does this item fit this person? If you've got a 18-year-old female that's bringing in construction tools, then you might want to ask more questions, right? And so we see a lot of circumstances like that where, if the questions don't quite add up, then we want to, ask a few more questions, and then maybe we just don't do business with that person. But there have been some circumstances where we've asked enough questions that ultimately it's led to some arrests. And I remember in one case, one guy, he ended up, he came here in a stolen truck with a stolen motorcycle in the back, full of tools. I mean, he did not fit the mold. He was a middle-aged guy, construction worker looking dude, had tools, so it didn't really set off any alarms, but there was just something there. We dug a little deeper. They ended up catching him, and he was involved in a big theft ring.
Oh, wow.
They kind of broke the whole thing down. So it's, I get a little bit of satisfaction out of knowing that, hey, we're trying to do our part to avoid that and also help people get back their stuff if it was stolen. So we don't see that very often. It's not often that we have to deal with stolen stuff, but we do really work hard to avoid that.
Yeah, well, and that's what's great about is, you guys are in Cedar City. Cedar City's still, it's growing, but it's still a small town. I think that most people value the community here, and you guys are definitely one of them. You're out at July Jamboree, you guys try to be involved in the community, and so I know that I think a lot of people still appreciate the community. They're not gonna, there's not a huge need for criminals to be bringing stolen goods around, really.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like as the economy, different times in the economy, we see highs and lows of that. When people are struggling more, the crime rates kind of go up, and we have to be a little bit more vigilant. But yeah, we do our...
That's awesome. And I know that you guys are up for Best of Southern Utah again.
Yeah.
So, you've won how many times in the past?
So we've won gold 4 years in a row, so this will be our 5th. And the first year, actually, we took silver.
Oh, okay.
If you can believe that or not. We took silver, and that's because some of you might remember back in 2019, which was the first year that we did it, we had a fire in our store the week of Best of Iron County.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that took a sideline, obviously. We really didn't promote it much, but we still took silver.
Yeah.
And then since then, 4 years running, we've had gold, so this will be our 5th. And I don't know if you know or not, but Best of Iron County, if you get 5 years in a row, they give you some sort of special medallion.
Oh, cool.
So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So this is actually going to be going up while voting's in progress. So if you guys are watching and you've ever been in before, if you've been impressed, make sure you go and vote. I'll put a link in the description so that they can do that.
Best pawn shop, obviously. And there's, I think, 4 other categories: customer service, jewelry store, places to buy a gift, thrift and consignment. There's a few categories that we're in. Just vote for the one that you think that we're the best at, if not all of them.
Yeah. So. Well, that's awesome. So, I mean, you don't stay in business for 26 years without getting good advice, without making some mistakes, without learning, right? Yeah. Like, I'm a big believer in learning from failure. I think failure is a great teacher. So for you guys, has something where you're like, man, I got some great advice after this thing happened, or even just great advice that you've gotten in the past that you're like, oh, this really changed my perspective, shot us into the stratosphere, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think most people get into this, maybe this pattern of if it's not broke, don't fix it. You don't, if it's working, kind of just, keep rolling with it. I would say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it wasn't broke, we didn't need to fix it, but we wanted a little bit more. We wanted to grow a little bit. And so I actually got involved with a mastermind group specific to the pawn industry.
Okay.
And there I learned how to pivot.
Yeah.
If this isn't working, pivot to here. And obviously COVID was a big pivot.
Mm-hmm.
We went from being a pawn shop to, because pawn shops typically, we make money based on lending money.
Yeah.
And then we obviously have retail as well, so we're selling things as well. And the profit of percentage of that was heavily on loans,
Mm-hmm.
and smaller amount on retail sales. And so around the time of COVID, people were getting money, they didn't need to borrow money, whatever. And so we saw a little dip there, and we thought, okay, we've got to make a pivot a little bit. And that pivot was now people are spending money. So we really bulked up our inventory. We brought in a lot of newer items, could be new, guitars, gold and silver coins, firearms, a lot of the new stuff. We pivoted from being mostly a pawn shop to now mostly retail.
Okay.
And so, but anyway, in that process of joining that mastermind, I learned things like that, how to pivot. And then the other big thing I would say is really knowing your business. Like sometimes I think people start a business and they're accidentally successful, right? Where you're good at what you do and you can just make money at it, but you don't really know the back end of your business. You don't really know your number. Put budgets out there. What's my advertising budget? What's my cash flow? Those kinds of things. And so I learned how to see those trends in cash flow and budgeting and figure out really where our business is at.
Yeah.
And how to make it grow. And I'm not by any means an expert, but definitely learned how to be more of a business owner and less of a pawnbroker.
Yeah. And when you're talking about know your numbers, I think that people are like, oh, I might know my numbers a little bit. I mean, you brought up some, but things like profit margins, right? Things like, you mentioned trends and where do I stand? How much am I spending percentage-wise on my marketing, my payroll? Am I profitable, right? Like those things are all questions that we as business owners need to be checking, if not at least monthly, like more often than that, I would say.
Yeah, those numbers and you can forecast. For example, right now, Labor Day to Memorial Day, the July, August, retail totally takes a dip. And it's not just in our industry, but in years past, we've always gotten to, July and I start to panic because I'm like, oh, the cash flow's down because sales are down, and I'd get this little panic, and then, as I started to learn those things, I now know, okay, well, July's coming, so we've got to be ready for that. It's
just going to happen.
And then in August, September, people start to settle back down, kids start going back to school, and it normalizes a bit, and then, of course, you get into the holiday and sales and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, know your numbers, know your trends, so that you can operate accordingly.
Yeah, and I also like the idea of a mastermind. I've had a business coach before, and then I'm in a few groups that are sort of like masterminds, but maybe speak to that a little bit. Like, what value did you draw from that beyond just, oh, like this was really helpful to teach me how to know my numbers and things like that? Like, how did you find it? What drew you to it? And like, what value did you get from it? Because I think everyone's heard of masterminds, but not everybody knows what they are and the value of them.
Yeah, so the mastermind that I joined, it was called the Pawn Leaders Podcast. It's specific to the pawn industry. Igal Adado, he's the one that is the leader there. He's the coach. He's the business coach. He leads the conversations. He brings kind of all the agenda. What do you call that? Like a curriculum.
He sets the meetings and stuff like that.
And then in that there was 15 other pawnbrokers who are at different stages of that mastermind. Some of them have been there for a while, some of them are new, and so you're not only learning from a business coach, but you're interacting with other business owners. And we would meet once a week, and obviously we'd have a topic every week. But if you just took away one nugget each week and said, I got to implement that, right? And you did that week after week, then you see this growth that is pretty incredible. But I would say probably the biggest thing for me was consistency, right? Because you can say, oh, I'm going to do this, and you may do it a couple of times, but unless you're doing things consistently, you don't really see that long-term effect. And actually, it was the mastermind group that I was in, I got called out once and it hurt my feelings, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, talking the talk, whatever. And somebody says, yeah, and anyway, they called me out on being inconsistent. You're not doing this consistently. And I really had to kind of step back and say, yeah, you know what, I mean, that kind of stings a little bit, but you're 100% right. I'm not being consistent. I'm not doing what I say that I'm going to do consistently, whether it's communicating with your team or marketing or, you know, whatever. You have to do it consistently. And that led to accountability.
Yeah.
So being part of that group is you're now accountable to them to do things consistently. And being in that group made a huge difference. And I was in there for a couple of years, and I've actually since withdrawn from it, but Stephanie, who's the store manager, some of you may know her, she's been involved with it for about a year now, where she's now into a management group, and she's doing all those things.
Yeah. I think that accountability piece is huge, like you said. I think for us, it feels like, at least for me, maybe it's my ADD, but if it's not right in front of me and on fire, it's not on my mind sometimes, right? And so, like you said, it makes us inconsistent because, oh, I got to the shop and this didn't happen yesterday. This morning, I thought I had a 10 o'clock meeting and that was going to push into this. I texted you, and then that meeting ended up getting pushed, so I was like, well, I'll show up for that. Like, our lives are just crazy sometimes as business owners, and so if it's not right in front of us and on fire, it's just not getting addressed.
Well, I would say, with regard to that, I learned, because I was a very reactive, right? If things are on fire, I'm putting them out, and I'm solving problems, putting out fires. But you know what? The only people that make money putting out fires are firemen.
Yep.
Right? So if you want to be productive, be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah, and these mastermind groups help you kind of see those patterns, right? Sometimes we don't even recognize them.
Yeah.
We just think, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you get into this group and you're like, oh, there's a different way to do this. I see people that are 2, 3, 5, 10 years ahead of me, and the way that they operate, the way that they're doing things. And you, like you said, you can take those little nuggets, put them into practice, implement, and then you're like, man, what a difference it makes even after a month or two.
Yeah, and it's good for your health too. Your blood pressure will go down.
Yeah. Your wife's a little happier because you're a little happier,
yes.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Mike, this has been really awesome. One thing I am curious about, just for your industry, you know, I'm in marketing. What sorts of challenges come with marketing a pawn shop? I'm sure it's unique for you in a small town, owning a pawn shop. Like, what are some of those challenges that come with marketing, and what have you done to overcome them?
Yeah, so I would say some of the most successful things that we do marketing-wise are, you know, we like to get on Facebook Live, you know, just be in-store and have some fun, make some fun reels. We like to send out, not often enough, but we send out emails. Mm-hmm. We do a text blast every now and then, but people don't love getting text blasted, so we don't send those out all that often. The challenges for us in the pawn industry, and anybody who's in the firearm industry as well knows that there's some restrictions. Facebook and Google don't like promoting firearms or, you know, pawn shops as well. You know, the lending aspect of it. And so what we try to do as far as marketing, we just want to be out there. We want you to recognize our name. So we go to the July Jamboree. We've got some hats and t-shirts, which, by the way, we give Tommy a new t-shirt that he can wear.
Grab it, plug it here. This is a cool one.
Yeah, so this was our July Jamboree design. So we just kind of want to be out there and remind about our name and have some fun reels of just, you know, being fun and goofy in here. But as far as actually advertising, you know, the sale of things, we don't do a lot of that. We really try to, I guess, advertise our brand more, and hopefully that draws people in. And don't underestimate the value of a good Google review. We are very proactive with customers in getting Google reviews. We get customers all the time that come in, hey, you know what, we came here because you had the best Google reviews.
Yeah. And what are you guys doing to get Google reviews? Like, what's your strategy there? Do you just train your employees to ask? What have you done to kind of set up? Because 600 doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah, no, as I said, we're very proactive. So, and we try to be really forward thinking in technology wise. So the software that we use, we have one particular that we use to be able to text customers back and forth. So if you know, had a question, you can text us, and it goes right to our store, not a cell phone, but you could text us a question. You could text us a photo of an item that you have that you're trying to value. Mm-hmm. And then we use that, and every week, basically we look at what new customers did we get this week.
Yeah. And
then we're going to text that customer a link. Hey, thanks for coming to our store. Here's a link for $5 off your next visit. You can, you know, $5 free in-store credit. And then there's a small link in there to click that and leave us a Google review.
Oh, cool.
And so we get a couple a week. we definitely could still be even more proactive. You can get Google reviews really quickly if you just ask for them. And I would say, get a QR code or something that goes right to that, and have that on your front counter, or send a link to customers. They'll leave you a review.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, my advice for people has always been catch them when they're happy, and it sounds like you're doing that because, hey, they just came in, they just had this experience, you just offered them $5, and now you're capturing them at that moment where you're still top of mind. It's not a couple days later or a week later or whatever, where it's like it's kind of out of sight, out of mind at this point. It's hey, we're stoked this happened. It's just right there, and it's pretty instantaneous. So that's definitely the way to go right now.
Yeah, they're happy. You're making it easy for them. That's the big thing. You got to make it easy for them.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. Well, Mike, this has been really fun. Thanks for letting me come by and chat with you. You guys are doing really cool stuff with the pond industry, being out in the community, so I was excited to sit down with you today. Guys, go vote for them for Best of Southern Utah. Like I said, I'm going to put that link in the description. If you guys have been in here, been happy, or even if you haven't, come check them out. We might have a free shirt for you still.
we do have a pile of them. We've got a few left that will be given away.
Yeah, so come on in, come check them out, see what they have. They've always got a cool rotating sort of stock every time I come in here. I'm looking at 1 or 2 new things. So, Mike, thanks for having me. Guys, thanks for watching another edition of Spotlight Southern Utah. We'll see you next week.